Hey guys, it's Eshani, aka Total Makeup Junkie 101. So today we are going to be talking all about the brand new Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palette called Soft Glam. I asked you guys in my last video, which was a review on the new Anastasia Amrezy highlighter. I asked at the end of that video if you guys were curious to hear my thoughts on this new eyeshadow palette, and everybody in the comments said yes. So I decided to go ahead and come on today and let you guys know my thoughts on this palette. If I think you guys need this palette, I'll also do a side-by-side comparison next to the Modern Renaissance palette, because I know there's a big debate going on if you need both of these. So jumping right into the review, this is what the outer box of the palette looks like. You can see on the back you get a little preview of the colors you get in it. And this is what the actual palette looks like. It does have that velvety texture to it, same as the Modern Renaissance. Honestly, I don't really love the soft touch velvet. I think it's pretty initially, but it gets really, really dirty really quickly. And the back of the palette does have a sticker label with all of the ingredients and all of that fun stuff. And one thing I wanted to randomly note, I may or may not ruin some of your guys' day by saying this, but is it just me or does this look like soft clam? The first time I read this word when I saw the packaging, I definitely read it as soft clam, and I don't know, every time I look at it now, I just can't get that out of my head. Super random. I just wanted to make a note of it. It doesn't really matter, obviously, but I just thought that was funny. I picked this palette up directly off the Anastasia Beverly Hills website for $42, but I do know that this palette will be available everywhere that Anastasia Beauty is sold really soon. On the back of the palette, it does say that it is an everyday to night palette with 14 shades, including essential mattes and glam shimmers. And when you open up the palette, that is exactly what you're going to see. You're going to see 14 very, very neutral wearable colors that are supposed to be able to give you a soft glam look. Down here at the bottom of the palette, you do get a double-sided brush. It's the same brush that comes in the Modern Renaissance or the Subculture palette. It's got a fluffy brush on one side and then kind of a flatter brush on the other side. So here are all 14 shades from the Soft Glam palette swatched across my arm. From left to right, we have Tempera, Glistening, Orange Soda, Rose Pink, Sultry, Bronze, Mulberry, Dusty Rose, Fairy, Burnt Orange, Sienna, Rustic, Cypress Umber, and Noir. Now, in terms of the variety of textures you're getting in this palette, I would say there are three very distinct textures. First off, you have your matte formula. There are 9 matte shadows in here, so you're getting quite a few mattes. We have these two here, these two, this one, this one, this one, and then these two here at the end. You're also getting 3 shadows that I would kind of consider a true metallic, and those shades would be these two here and then this one. And then finally, you're getting a really, really ultra metallic foiled finish. You're getting 2 of those shades, and that would be these two right here. Jumping into discussing the formulation of these shadows, in terms of the matte shades, they are very, very, very pigmented, but they are also very, very, very powdery. They're basically exactly what you would expect from an Anastasia matte shadow. If you have the Modern Renaissance palette, that palette had a ton of mattes in it, and I would say that these mattes are very, very comparable in formula. I really do like the Anastasia matte shadows, but when I use them, I just have to keep in mind how powdery they are and how much pigment they deposit. You really don't need to grind your brush in these mattes. One little tap will do you plenty. In terms of the 3 metallic shadows, those are really, really beautiful as well. Really smooth, really buttery, not quite as powdery as the mattes, but that's kind of to be expected. They have a little bit more binder in them that kind of holds the formula together, and they're very, very nice shadows. And then as far as the 2 ultra metallic super foiled shades, I would say those 2 definitely have a little bit more of a flaky formula to them. I actually did use Sultry, which is one of the super metallic shades, all over my lid today, and I did have to be careful. I packed it on with a stiff natural goat hair flat shader brush just to get as much stiffness and precision as possible. And when I use this formula with that method, I don't have excessive fallout. Now, I will say pretty much all of these shades, especially the matte shades, will give you fallout on your face. So when using this palette, I do recommend you do your concealer and foundation after your eyes. It's something I recommend doing with the Modern Renaissance palette as well, just because I personally find I do get fallout with both of these formulas. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about color selection of this palette. I feel like one of the main critiques that I've heard about this palette is that it's not unique, the color selection isn't anything revolutionary, and to be honest, that is completely and totally true. You see this palette and you think, yep, that's yet another neutral palette. One thing I do feel like this neutral palette has going for it that a lot of other neutral palettes really lack is that you are getting a really, really light matte color all the way up to a matte dark black. You're also getting a dark brown. You're getting plenty of matte transition colors. You are getting some nice bold metallic colors, and then you're also getting some nice shimmery shades if you're not looking for a totally glam look. If you just stick to this half of the palette, you can do a really light neutral eye, and if you go towards this half of the palette, you can do a true smoky eye. When I use this palette, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I use this palette and this palette alone to achieve the eye look I have on today, and yeah, I definitely feel very glamorous. I don't think this is necessarily soft glam. I do feel like, you know, with the lashes and everything, it looks pretty bold, but it definitely looks glam. Now, if you already own a lot of neutral eyeshadow palettes, do you probably own all of these colors elsewhere in your collection? Most definitely. If you're expecting uniqueness out of any of these individual colors, you probably won't find it, but where I do find this palette is unique is just the fact that it is a very, very standalone palette. You literally get every single neutral color that you would need for any neutral eye look. Now, with that being said, remember that Anastasia does market this as being an essential eye palette. Now, because of that, you are getting 5 matte shades in here that are available individually within the Anastasia permanent single eyeshadow range. And those 5 shades in particular are Orange Soda, which is right here, Dusty Rose, Burnt Orange, Sienna, and Noir. All 5 of those you can pick up in single pan form. Now, there are also some overlapping colors between the Soft Glam and the Modern Renaissance. So let's go ahead and do a side-by-side of those two. So here we have a look at the Soft Glam palette next to the Modern Renaissance palette. Soft Glam is on the top and Modern Renaissance is on the bottom. And here we have a look at both of those palettes swatched directly next to each other, so you can see the actual colors swatched side by side. Across the top of my arm, we have the new Soft Glam palette, and along the bottom, we have the Modern Renaissance. I feel like when you see the two palettes swatched directly side by side, you can really tell that the Soft Glam palette, while it is a really neutral palette, it does tend to lean a little bit more pinky and mauvey, whereas the Modern Renaissance definitely leans a lot more warm. Now, don't get me wrong, I really, really love my Modern Renaissance palette. It is one of my favorite palettes in my entire collection, but I love that the Soft Glam gives you every single neutral matte color of the rainbow that you would ever need. Obviously, where the Modern Renaissance was missing out is that you are getting a nice light color, but you're not getting anything too dark. You are getting this dark brown, but you're definitely not getting a black, which I feel like would have made this palette just a little bit more versatile. I'm not crapping on my Modern Renaissance palette. I still love this thing, but I really do love the Soft Glam too. I think they give very different looks. I think the tones are different. I think the finishes that you're getting in the Soft Glam, I mean, you're not getting any of these really, really super metallic shades in the Modern Renaissance. Also, just to let you know, there are 3 overlapping shades between the Soft Glam and the Modern Renaissance. Tempera, which is this light white, is the same. Also, Burnt Orange and Cypress Umber. Those are the 3 shades that are repeated from this palette. And to be honest, that doesn't really make me mad. I'd rather honestly Anastasia do that, where they actually just duplicate a shade rather than slightly tweaking the color, making it slightly darker or lighter, and then renaming it and claiming that it is a brand new shade. We know lots of companies that do that, where they basically release the same shade in 2 palettes and call them 2 different names. So I'm glad that Anastasia is not renaming the same color and trying to pretend that they're different. They're telling you it's the same color, enjoy it in both palettes. But yeah, regardless, I really do like this Soft Glam palette. I think it's going to depend on what you already have in your collection to determine whether or not you really need this. Is it life-changing and revolutionary in colors that we've never seen before? Absolutely not. But it is a really, really high quality standalone palette. I do think it's different enough from Modern Renaissance to justify having both. And I definitely know that I will be getting some really, really good use out of this palette because I think it's fabulous. And then finally, as far as some housekeeping information, just to let you guys know, the shadows in this palette are made in the US. However, the double-ended brush that's included is made in China. In terms of the amount of product you're getting in here, each of these shadows holds 0.74 grams of product, which is really, really small. Each of these pans is essentially half of a full-size MAC shadow, for example. And if you multiply that by the 14 shades that you're getting, you are getting 10.36 grams of product total. That means that you are paying $4.05 per gram for this palette, which I will say is definitely pricey. You are, funny enough, getting just a little bit more product in here than you were in the Modern Renaissance. So the price per gram of this palette is slightly better than this one. But on the whole, price per gram on any of these Anastasia palettes is pretty high. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say on the new Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette. Please let me know in the comments down below if this palette is on your wish list, or if you already have it, what do you think of it? Thank you guys so much for watching, supporting, and subscribing. It honestly means the world to me, and I will talk to you guys in my next video on Thursday. I'll see you then. Bye.